The Cleveland Browns walked into this season desperate for answers, but what they've created instead is a quarterback controversy so explosive that it's tearing through the NFL like wildfire. And today, a single comment from Randy Moss just poured gasoline all over the blaze. This isn't some harmless debate about play calling or rookie nerves. This is a Hall of Famer suggesting something far darker is happening inside the Browns organization. Something that could stunt the career of their newest quarterback before it even begins. The moment that set everything off was simple. Shedeur Sanders makes a perfect deep throw, an absolute missile, placing the Browns on the doorstep of their first touchdown. The stadium starts buzzing. His teammates light up. Even Myles Garrett reacts like a man who finally saw a spark of hope on offense. It was the kind of moment you let a young quarterback finish, the kind you build confidence on, the kind you remember. Instead, Cleveland pulled him, not once, but twice. And they replaced him with a wildcat formation that robbed Sanders of the touchdown opportunity he earned. To Randy Moss, this wasn't a quirky coaching choice. This was a message. And that message, according to him, raises a terrifying question. Does everyone inside the Browns organization actually want Shedeur Sanders to succeed? Because if the answer is no, then this isn't about football anymore. It's about politics. It's about power. And it's about a franchise that might be sabotaging its own future without even realizing it. Everything unraveled in Cleveland the moment Shedeur Sanders put the Browns' offense exactly where it needed to be, 2 yards from the end zone. Momentum surging, and the entire building buzzing with a level of excitement this team hasn't felt all season. It wasn't a lucky play. It wasn't a busted coverage. It was a perfectly executed deep ball, an NFL throw that only a handful of rookies can make under pressure. That's the kind of moment coaches dream of when evaluating a young quarterback. It tells you he has the arm. It tells you he has the poise. It tells you he's not afraid of the spotlight. And then, in a move that left fans stunned, analysts confused, and Randy Moss furious, Cleveland took the ball out of his hands. They didn't let him attempt a goal line throw. They didn't give him a QB sneak. They didn't even allow him to remain on the field. Instead, they dialed up the wildcat twice, 2 snaps, 2 chances for Sanders to build confidence erased in seconds. Sure, the team scored, but the cost? Immense. Because touchdowns aren't just points. For a rookie quarterback, they're emotional milestones. They're proof that he can finish drives, command an offense, and capitalize on big moments. By removing him, the Browns sent a message, whether they meant to or not. We don't trust you here. That's where the frustration begins. This wasn't a playoff game. It wasn't a must-win situation where the team needed a trick play to survive. This is a rebuilding year, a developmental year, a season where every snap from your young quarterback matters more than the score. So why deny him the moment he earned? Randy Moss saw it immediately. To him, this wasn't about strategy. It was about intention. Because when a coaching staff claims publicly they're evaluating a rookie for the future, yet privately removes him when it matters most, the actions don't match the message. One decision exposed a deeper issue. If Cleveland won't trust their rookie in the red zone, how can they claim they're committed to his growth? And that question is only the beginning of this unraveling story. When a team is 2-9 and staring down the barrel of a wasted season, the mission becomes painfully simple. Find out whether your young quarterback can be the future. Nothing should matter more than evaluating the guy under center. Not the scoreboard, not the stat sheet, not the short-term optics of a single drive. This is the moment where franchises test their patience, their vision, and their ability to build towards something bigger. But here's the contradiction that has analysts and even former players raising red flags. The Browns say they're committed to evaluating Shedeur Sanders. Yet their decisions on the field suggest the exact opposite. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Cleveland owns 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft, and there's already speculation that those picks might be used on another quarterback if Sanders doesn't prove himself quickly. So every drive, every throw, every chance he gets to showcase his potential is another piece of evidence that could secure or destroy his future in the league. And that's exactly why pulling him in the red zone strikes so many people as more than a simple coaching mistake. It looks intentional. It looks cautious to the point of dysfunction. And to some observers, it looks like sabotage. Because if the Browns truly wanted a clear picture of who Sanders is, they wouldn't limit him in the most defining moments. Evaluating a quarterback isn't about safe screens and handoffs. It's about seeing how he responds when the moment demands poise. It's about giving him opportunities to lead, not sheltering him from imagined danger. Observers have also pointed out something even more concerning: the disconnect between the organization's public messaging and the way they're actually deploying Sanders. Coaches keep saying he needs game reps, that they're excited about his growth, and that they want to see him in pressure situations. Yet when a real pressure moment arrives, standing 2 yards from the end zone, they turn to a formation that removes him entirely. That contradiction is what fuels the suspicion. And when a Hall of Famer like Randy Moss openly questions whether everyone in the building wants Shedeur to succeed, it shifts the conversation from football strategy into something deeper: organizational alignment, or lack of it. If the Browns are genuinely torn, those fractures won't just affect play calling. They'll affect play confidence, locker room trust, and long-term development. Because you can fix mechanics, you can coach decision-making, but if the organization itself is divided, that's the kind of sabotage no rookie can overcome alone. Before Shedeur Sanders ever took an NFL snap, he was already one of the most polarizing rookies in the league. Not because of his talent, not because of his mechanics, but because of who he is and how boldly he carries himself. From the wristwatch celebration to the confident interviews, from the talk of becoming legendary to the swagger he brings onto every field, Sanders walks with a presence that demands attention. And in the NFL, that kind of personality never lands quietly. Some people love it, some people hate it. And inside a building like Cleveland's, where stability has been rare and quarterback turnover has been constant, that energy can feel either refreshing or threatening. This is where the double standard becomes impossible to ignore. Veteran quarterbacks across the league talk about being the guy all the time. They show swagger, they show attitude, they show fire, and the media praises it, calls it leadership, toughness, moxie. But when Shedeur does it, suddenly it's arrogance. Suddenly it's immaturity. Suddenly it's a problem. The post-game interview drama is the perfect example. Critics jumped on him for not immediately praising the defense, even though he later made it clear he wanted to elevate the entire team. Meanwhile, established quarterbacks use "I" and "me" constantly, and nobody flinches. For Shedeur, every facial expression becomes a headline, every comment becomes a debate, and every mistake becomes ammunition. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Swagger only becomes an issue when people are waiting for you to fail. And the scrutiny Sanders faces feels personal at times. Like some people resent the confidence he brought from college. They question whether his personality fits the Browns' culture, as if a 2-9 team has earned the right to critique anyone's swagger. Yet personality is not the problem. It's a distraction. A convenient narrative that overshadows the real issue, whether the organization is willing to embrace a quarterback who doesn't fit their usual mold. Because history has shown us that rookies who challenge norms often get judged more harshly. The question now is whether Cleveland is reacting to Shedeur's style or using his personality. This is a Hall of Famer who built his reputation on understanding quarterbacks better than most coaches. He knows what confidence looks like. He knows what distrust feels like. And when he looked at what happened to Shedeur Sanders, he didn't fall back on cliches or coach speak. He went straight to the uncomfortable truth that everyone else tiptoed around. Moss didn't just question the play calling. He questioned the intention behind it. To him, the Wildcat substitution wasn't a harmless wrinkle. It wasn't a quirky coaching preference. It was a signal, one that suggested something was off inside the Browns building. Moss pointed out the one thing that hit harder than any film room critique. I don't know if everybody in that building wants him to win. For a franchise, that's a devastating accusation. Because losing games is one thing. Losing alignment? That's how careers fall apart before they ever begin. Moss has been around this league long enough to recognize when a team's actions don't match its words. The Browns say they want to evaluate Shedeur. They say they want him to grow. They say he's part of their future. Yet when the moment came for him to shine, when he put the team at the goal line, they pulled him from the field. To Moss, that disconnect wasn't subtle. It was glaring. He saw a pattern, the tension between what Cleveland claims to want and what they're actually doing on the field. And for a young quarterback trying to establish himself, that is the most dangerous environment possible. Because quarterbacks don't just need reps, they need belief. They need commitment. Everyone in the building rowing in the same direction. And when Moss openly suggests that support isn't universal, it takes the conversation from football to culture, from strategy to politics, from coaching decisions to organizational fractures that could derail the entire development process. Moss didn't spark a controversy. He exposed the one that was already brewing beneath the surface. Every quarterback has a moment that announces who they are. Not a full game, not a season. Just one throw that makes the entire stadium pause and think, wait, this kid might be different. For Shedeur Sanders, that moment came on a deep ball that sliced through the air with perfect trajectory, perfect touch, and perfect timing. It was the kind of throw that defines potential, the kind of throw teams build game plans around, the kind of throw struggling franchises hang their hope on. And Cleveland ignored it. One of the most dominant defensive players of this generation exploded with excitement. This is a guy who spent years dragging the Browns through games almost single-handedly. He doesn't celebrate offensive plays lightly. His reaction showed something undeniable. This team has been starving for a quarterback who can make that kind of play. For a brief moment, everything aligned. The offense felt alive. The stadium felt energized. It felt like the first spark of a new era, one where potential finally outweighed frustration, a confidence-building milestone that rookies rarely get in tight, pressure-packed moments. This wasn't about plays. It was about belief. Sanders had just proven he could deliver in a moment when it mattered. And the response from the sideline was essentially, not yet, not you. That's why analysts and players reacted so strongly. Because you don't teach moments like that. You nurture them. You build on them. You let the rookie feel what it's like to finish the job. Cleveland didn't just ignore a great throw. They ignored the message behind it. And in doing so, they raised a new, troubling question. If they won't trust Shedeur after his best moment, when will they? To understand why this moment with Shedeur Sanders feels so tense, so fragile, you have to look at the Browns' history. Because no franchise in the modern NFL has for decades. The Browns have been trapped in a revolving door of short-lived experiments, emergency stopgaps, maybe this will work signings, and draft picks that never developed into anything close to a franchise player. It's not just a pattern anymore. It's an identity, an expectation, a wound this team hasn't healed from. Since their return in 1999, the Browns have cycled through 30-plus starting quarterbacks. Star prospects fizzled out, veterans regressed, promising rookies collapsed under pressure, and mid-season replacements turned into late-season regrets. Every year, Cleveland fans hold their breath, hoping the newest name on the jersey will finally stick, only to watch the cycle repeat. And that's what makes the handling of Shedeur Sanders so alarming. If this team had a long track record of developing quarterbacks, people might brush off the Wildcat decision as a harmless quirk. But this is the Browns, the team known for stunting growth, not nurturing it. The team known for failing to commit to young signal callers. The team that never seems to fully support the guy under center until it's already too late. Which begs the uncomfortable question, is Cleveland about to repeat the same mistake again? They drafted Sanders because they believed he had the upside, the arm talent, and the mental toughness to break this curse. Yet instead of empowering him, they're tiptoeing around his development like he's a temporary rental instead of a long-term investment. When a franchise has endured this much quarterback trauma, you'd expect them to be extra committed to the rare player who actually shows flashes of real potential. Instead, they're treating him with the same cautious, inconsistent approach that derailed so many careers before. And that's the biggest red flag of all, because if Shedeur Sanders truly has the tools to break the cycle, then Cleveland can't afford to sabotage his momentum or their own future, one conservative decision at a time. For all the noise surrounding the Browns, for all the scrutiny aimed at their rookie quarterback, the actual tape tells a very different story. Strip away the opinions, the controversies, the conservative play calling, and what you're left with is a young quarterback showing the exact traits NFL teams spend years trying to develop. Shedeur Sanders didn't just survive his debut. He showed flashes that demand attention. Start with the most important thing a rookie quarterback can offer: ball security. Most first-time starters panic, force throws, or try to play hero ball. Shedeur didn't. Outside of one interception, he played controlled. That alone sets him apart from dozens of rookies who crumble under pressure. He didn't let the moment swallow him. He respected the assignment. Then there's the arm talent. That deep ball, perfectly weighted, perfectly timed, dropped exactly where it needed to be. Wasn't a lucky toss. It was the kind of throw coaches look at in slow motion and say, yeah, that's an NFL arm. Plenty of quarterbacks can manage an offense. Very few can create explosive plays with pure talent. Shedeur showed he belongs in the second category. His poise stood out too. He took hits. He stood in collapsing pockets. He delivered throws without flinching. You can't coach that. You can't teach a quarterback to stay calm when giant defenders are trying to bury him into the turf. That's instinct. That's toughness. That's something Cleveland has been searching for, and here's what really matters. His teammates saw it. Myles Garrett's reaction wasn't just excitement, it was validation. It was a defensive superstar recognizing that maybe for the first time in a long time, the Browns have a quarterback worth believing in. So when critics claim Shedeur isn't ready, when analysts nitpick his swagger, when coaches limit his chances, just remember, rookies don't need perfection to prove they belong. They just need moments. Moments that reveal their ceiling. Moments that show who they can become. And Shedeur Sanders already delivered those. Cleveland just has to stop getting in the way long enough to let him build on them. The Browns don't just stand at a crossroads. They stand at a cliff. And what they choose to do next will determine whether they finally break free from decades of quarterback misery or repeat the same cycle that has haunted this franchise for years. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just another rookie stepping into a tough situation. He's the latest test of whether Cleveland can recognize potential when it's staring them in the face. or whether they'll fumble their future the way they've done time and time again. This season isn't about wins. It isn't about playoff hopes. It isn't even about building a flashy offense. It's about clarity. The Browns need to know, truly know, whether Sanders is the quarterback they can build around. And the only way to find that out is by giving him real opportunities, real trust, and real moments to prove himself. Anything less is negligence disguised as caution. If Cleveland continues sidelining him in critical moments, they risk more than just stunting his development. They risk losing the locker room. They risk losing fan confidence. And they risk reinforcing a franchise that can't commit, can't develop, and can't get out of its own way. But here's the flip side, the hopeful side. If the Browns truly lean in, if they give Sanders the support he deserves, if they stop treating him like a temporary experiment and start treating him like a potential franchise quarterback, this could be the turning point fans have waited generations to see. The deep ball, the poise, the intelligence, all the ingredients are there. What he needs now is a team willing to invest in him. That's why Randy Moss's comments cut so deep, because they force the organization, boom, and everyone watching to confront a question that cannot be ignored anymore. Do the Browns want Shedeur Sanders to succeed? Or are they afraid of what happens if he actually does? The answer will define the next decade of Cleveland football. And as the clock keeps ticking, one thing becomes crystal clear. Shedeur's future isn't the only thing on the line here. The identity of the entire franchise is at stake.